Rogue Legacy from Cellar Door Games is a fantastic roguelite that stays faithful to roguelites of the past while introducing a fascinating game mechanic that works perfectly for the genre. The controls are simple and easy to grasp, but the customizability of your characters creates impossibly vast possibilities for every single run. Rogue Legacy shows, once again, why roguelites are games that we keep going back to over and over again, even when they offer brutal, unforgiving difficulty. The tutorial of Rogue Legacy is well integrated with the story. The sepia-tone flashback lays out the basic controls simply for you, and gives a cryptic vision about what happened that created the need for your characters to storm Castle Hamson. After a certain event transpires in the flashback, the game asks you to choose your heir. As you enter the heir selection screen, you will see that you are faced with 3 different people, who can be somewhat similar to each other or drastically different. The gender, class, traits, and spells that each of these heirs inherit from their predecessor are completely randomized, and you must choose which configuration sets you up for the most success. Generally, due to the variety, you will find at least one heir that has a spell and traits that you find desirable. This also means that you will definitely experience every trait in conjunction with every other trait a number of times, even the ones you hate. You will experience every class and every spell, and you'll be pushed out of your comfort zone sometimes when none of the heirs stand out as particularly desirable options. I love this system. Would I want it in every roguelite? No, not even a little bit. Having set characters like in Enter the Gungeon and The Binding of Isaac is important to create a sense of familiarity, and allows you to become good at the game regardless of the playstyle the character imposes upon you. However, Rogue Legacy makes it work by giving you control over the equipment and runes that you have equipped before every single run in the game. If you want a heavy hitter, or a money grabber, or a strong mage, you can configure everything to suit that playstyle. The layout of the castle is also randomized with each run, as you'd expect with a roguelite. However, though the layout of the rooms change, the general location of the various areas of the castle remain the same, giving you at least a general path through the castle to follow each time you play. Inside Castle Hamson, you will periodically encounter new blueprints and runes, which can then be unlocked and used by interacting with various NPCs outside of the castle. There are 75 different pieces of equipment, 15 each of swords, helmets, breastplates, boots, and capes, and 55 rune abilities, 11 runes for each item of equipment, though you can only have 5 runes equipped at a time, 1 per item. The equipment has basic stat increases, as well as special abilities, such as Vampirism, which heals you every time you defeat an enemy, or adding value to the money you pick up. The runes also have a myriad of abilities, such as giving your heir the ability to dash, jump multiple times, deal damage to an enemy whenever the heir takes damage, or even slow down the difficulty scaling of enemies throughout the castle in exchange for lesser rewards. Again, the equipment and the runes you have equipped can be changed prior to every run, allowing you to tailor every single run to the class and traits your chosen heir possesses. The way you unlock the NPCs and level up your heirs is through a skill tree located at your manor that you are redirected to immediately after selecting your heir. Not only do you unlock NPCs, you can also unlock permanent stat increases for all classes, new classes, upgraded versions of your unlocked classes, permanent loot increases, and many other perks with the gold you collect to help you get further in your runs. The more stats you upgrade and perks you unlock, the higher your base level rises. One of my favorite upgrades has to do with an NPC named Charon. Charon takes 100% of your leftover gold before you are allowed to enter Castle Hamson on each run. This incentivizes you to use every bit of gold you collect on every run to unlock new perks, equipment, or runes. However, for a large cost on the skill tree, you can make it so Charon takes a little bit less gold from you, eventually reducing it so you only lose 50% of your gold before each run. This makes it easier to save up for expensive upgrades later on in the game. Gold itself is accumulated by defeating enemies, breaking objects in the castle, and opening chests. Fairy chests are special chests that generally contain runes, and they can either be hidden behind false walls and floors, sometimes even requiring your character to have specific traits to access the chests, or sitting in rooms with special challenges attached to them that you must complete to unlock the fairy chest. These challenges can be anything from killing all enemies in the room, to platforming challenges, to not taking damage in a gauntlet of spiked spheres flying all around the room. After passing Charon, you will learn that the golden door standing before you is opened by killing the bosses in all 4 areas of the castle, and thus the goal of the game is laid out plainly for you from the beginning. To do so, you will have to fight monsters of increasing difficulty throughout the castle. Combat itself is extremely simple, though there is some nuance to it that can be frustrating in certain cases. Swinging your sword is not instantaneous. It takes no more than half a second, but when a flying evil painting is hot on your tail, turning around and swinging your sword takes long enough that you often get hit before your sword actually makes contact. Magic spells don't have this same problem, though they can be difficult to aim. This is particularly true early in the game when you have very little mana and are inexperienced with the spells. Your base damage changes depending on your stats and the equipment you have unlocked, but you can also deal critical blows to enemies that do significantly more damage. You can increase the damage you do with criticals and the likelihood of dealing critical strikes on your skill tree back at the manor. Rogue Legacy has a very steep difficulty curve. Enemies scale rapidly in difficulty, though this can be slowed if you are willing to sacrifice a rune slot for that purpose, and even moving into just the second area results in extremely powerful enemies. However, I don't really count this as a negative to the game because steep difficulty curves are pretty common in roguelites. The bosses are especially difficult, but this just gives you a sense of purpose that you're always working towards, and the satisfaction of finally defeating a boss that you've tried to fight several times is euphoric. However, the problem that does arise with the difficulty is that it takes forever to be successful in later areas of the game, so you will spend a lot of time in the beginning in the same area trying to sufficiently improve your bloodline stats. Unfortunately, though I love the gameplay, Rogue Legacy has a relatively small music selection. The music in Rogue Legacy, in general, feels like music you would hear in an SNES game. Though this doesn't depart from the major aesthetic of the game, and isn't necessarily a bad thing, I feel that the complexity of the game mechanics warrant slightly more complex music. On top of that, songs like the Air Selection theme don't sound very much like most of the rest of the game. There is an odd dissonance that exists with the music throughout the game. There could have been better consistency. With all that said, having only minor complaints regarding a stale music selection and the repetitiveness that its steep difficulty curve creates, I can easily say Rogue Legacy could take up hundreds of hours of my time. When considering the criteria that make roguelites some of the most addicting and satisfying games, Rogue Legacy ticks all the boxes, and is a worthy addition to your Steam library. The air system is a great approach to character selection that I've never seen in any other roguelite, and leaves you wondering what will be available to you on every run. The magic is randomized, and is another layer of strategy that you have to consider, especially after you have substantially increased your mana pool, and the delay on swinging your sword can create tense moments where you don't have enough time to attack the enemy hot on your tail. The bosses are exceptionally difficult, but the rewards and satisfaction you receive from finally finishing an area is all the better for it. I think you will absolutely get $15 worth of time and fun out of Rogue Legacy, and I definitely support picking it up. Enjoyed this video? Hit that like button, subscribe for more reviews, and consider sharing it with others. Want to see more? Check out my sister channel, Rogue Life Gaming, and check out more reviews at roguelifereviews.com. Links to both will be down in the description.